As noted previously, the plants created by God were already fully grown on earth, which should not come as a surprise to anyone. Adam and Eve, for example, were created fully grown without being birthed, which is why they would not have belly buttons. This particular verse reads, "Herb yields seed," and yielding fruit after its kind lets us know that God built into these plants and trees their own seeds, which gives them the ability to reproduce according to their kind. The same is true for human beings. It has already been established that Adam and Eve were created by God, not birthed by man. And God provided them with the ability to reproduce according to their own kind. This means that Adam and Eve would not reproduce another type of species other than Homo sapien, human beings. Although man and animal were created differently, the same process and procedures were used to bring forth life as well as to sustain such life. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself, after his kind. And God saw that it was good. Genesis 1 verse 12. This verse is nearly the same as the previous one, which illustrates that what God commanded is exactly what occurred. An important detail that should not be overlooked is that God provided the respective life form with the ability to reproduce from the very start. In other words, God never intended to create the earth over again, or to create the earth from scratch, which is why once he began the creation process, he created the world as he intended it from the very beginning. Regardless of where you stand on the age of the earth, the Bible is clear that it is God, and God alone, that created the earth and all that inhabit it. From the very beginning, God created the heaven and earth and saw that it was good, and continued with his creation. He provided the light that countered the darkness that was on the face of the earth, and provided the necessary dry land, water, and vegetation needed for all life to survive. And all of this occurred in just 3 days of creation, and the evening and the morning were the third day. Genesis 1 verse 13. Day 4, like the previous 3 days, was filled with events that only God can take credit for, as God created and made the sun, moon, and the stars we observe in our universe. According to the scriptures, God created the sun and moon first on day 4, and God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and years." Genesis 1 verse 14. This is very confusing for many, as God created light on day 1 simply by speaking it into existence, and when God saw the light, it was good. The light God created on day 1 is not the same light that God created on day 4. While it is obvious that God is the one who created the light, the source of the light is not explained by the Bible. That is, we cannot be certain whether the light was God himself, as the early church father Tertullian taught, or if it was a ball of fire that would later become the sun, as taught by Ephraim the Syrian, or perhaps it was another source like angels. This is one of those topics that will probably forever be discussed where there is no consensus. And that's fine, because we know that God did create the light. Further, at least for this program, we know it was not the complete sun. When we think about what transpired on this day, it's easy to become overwhelmed, because no human being can possibly accomplish a small percentage of what God accomplished. Not only did he set the sun and moon in place, but he also provided each with a certain role. Regardless of the version of Scripture you read, for example, the New International Version reads God called the vault sky, whereas the King James Version reads firmament. The sun and moon were, and still are, the two prominent sources of light for earth. On day 4, God also created the stars. And while this is a simple sentence, The creation itself is vast. Space. Com points out that when we average the different types of stars within our galaxy, there are about 100 billion stars. That number is truly astonishing. But it doesn't stop there, because this is the number of stars within the Milky Way, the galaxy Earth is in, but there are a total of 2 trillion galaxies in the universe, according to the conversation.